In this video, I'm going to give you a complete breakdown on what online arbitrage is when selling with Amazon FBA. But first, I'm going to give you a backstory on my early days and journey as an Amazon seller. So here on the left, I graduated college. 6 to 9 months into my last year of college, I started my Amazon FBA journey, and I did it as a side hustle while I continued to go to school and get my degree. This picture here on the right is me unpackaging and unboxing a U-Haul truck, because in the early days of Amazon, I used to pack, storage, and ship the units that I would sell on Amazon in my parents' garage. So this is a U-Haul truck, and sometimes I had to pick up shipments and pallets from suppliers, bring it to my parents' garage, unpack, prep, and then ship to Amazon. Exactly about 9 to 10 months after starting my Amazon FBA journey and 1 month after graduating college, I decided, like any other normal person would do, to travel the world. I had a remote income and was able to do it full time from anywhere in the world. So I left to become a full-time backpacker or a full-time digital nomad. So the picture on the left here is me in Barcelona. The picture on the right is me in Italy. The picture on the bottom right is me in Portugal. Now in the middle, this was the full-time sales of doing exactly 1 year while traveling and working remote as a backpacker or digital nomad. I did $520,000 in sales. It amounted to about $80,000 to $90,000 in profit, and it was more than well enough for me to travel full-time as a digital nomad and fund all of my expenses. So in this course, as an overview, I'm going to provide what is online arbitrage and how it works, what are the other ways to sell on Amazon, and maybe why online arbitrage is the easiest to start. I'm going to give you the Amazon dictionary, or better known as terminology, then getting set up guide, so how to create an account or where to create an account, some softwares and tools, and supplies you will need. I'll also provide an FAQ and answer all of the questions. Then do a complete product analysis of 2 example products. I'll go through how to product source. I'll also go through how outsourcing and delegation. Then lastly, tips to scale so you can make this business a full-time income and potentially work from anywhere in the world and do it for a very long time. First, what is online arbitrage? So in simple terms, it's buying low, selling high. So you essentially just purchase discounted products from online retail stores or ones that are just priced more effectively or profitable on retail stores and resell them on Amazon for a profit. I know what you're thinking. You're probably saying, is this even possible? Is this even true? Well, over 60% of Amazon sellers are third party. So Amazon only does 40% of the sales in the marketplace, while 60% of the sellers are people like you and I reselling products. Now they use different methods and different types of ways to sell these products, but it's a very profitable method, and it's a very well-known method that many people in the United States and across the world are also doing. Also, over 55,000 Amazon sellers did $1 million in sales in 2024. So there are plenty of people in the world selling on Amazon and doing it very successfully. Let's go over the other ways to sell with Amazon. First is wholesale. Wholesale is very similar to online arbitrage, but you're buying products from distributors and brands, potentially even the same products that you buy from OA, but you buy them in bulk quantities and at a discount. Typically, people get into wholesale after doing online arbitrage for a year or 2 because they have more money to spend and they have better ideas how to build a relationship with these brand and distributors. Second is private label. Private label is by far the hardest business model to get started with Amazon. You are creating a trademarked brand and you are then buying products from Alibaba or other suppliers, potentially in Europe, to then sell on Amazon. In this case, you're building a brand and you have to learn how to market the brand, run advertising, and generate traffic so that you create a successful product for Amazon's customers. Third is retail arbitrage. To put it in simple terms, it's the in-person business model of online arbitrage. So you're buying the same brands or same products, but you're actually physically going in stores like Walmart or Target, and you're buying the product, taking it home, either packaging it and prepping it and shipping it to Amazon, or directly selling it right to the customer. Let's go over some words in the Amazon world. First, you have online arbitrage, or better known as OA, as we've gone over. Next, you have FBA, which stands for Fulfilled by Amazon, and most famously and commonly known as Amazon FBA, where Amazon does the picking, packing, and prepping of the products to then ship over to the customer. Then you have Buy Box, which is essentially where the customer goes to select purchase the product and that buy box rotates amongst different sellers, and we'll get into that as we go through the product breakdown. Next is Keepa. Keepa is a software that us Amazon sellers use to analyze a product, analyze other sellers who are selling the product, and all of the information that you possibly need to know on whether it is a good purchase or not. Then we have SellerAmp. This is a profit calculating tool to see exactly how much money you are making on Amazon. Next is ROI. This is used across many different businesses and industries, but it is your return on investment. So if you spend $100 on a product and it's 30% ROI, that's $30 on your investment. So you'd then have $130. Next is ASIN. This is Amazon's identifier. So each different listing and product on Amazon has their own ASIN so that Amazon can properly identify every single product and listing that's sold across their marketplace. Then we have sales rank, or better known as BSR. And this is essentially how well the product is selling within its category. Of course, there are tons of different categories on Amazon. There is beauty, healthcare, sports, equipment, tools, and every product has its own BSR, so you can tell exactly how well it's doing within every category. Next, we have private label. As we've gone over, this is creating a trademark brand to then slap a label on a product and market your own brand. Next is Prep Center. This is a way to delegate the fulfillment in Amazon so that you actually don't have to ever see the product. Prep centers do the packaging, prepping, and shipping to Amazon's fulfillment centers rather than you having to do it. Ungating. This is being able to sell big name products. Sometimes you have to apply to ungate in big brands like Nike or Adidas. And in that case, you have to buy from a trusted supplier and show Amazon that you have a proper invoice and that you can now resell the products. Replens are products that you can buy over time and consistently, so you can consistently sell them on Amazon and make a profit. Always sourcing is sourcing products to then sell on Amazon. There are many different sourcing methods, but always sourcing is the umbrella in which we call sourcing of these products. Profit margin. Profit margin is similar to ROI, but basically it's the percentage of profit that you make on your sales. So if you have $1,000 in sales and $200 was profit, then you have a 20% profit margin. Okay, let's talk about getting started with Amazon and how to get started. So first, you have your Amazon selling account. You just go to sell.amazon.com, and that is $40 per month. I know that sounds like a lot, but as you grow the business and scale and make more money, you won't even notice the $40 transaction that comes out of your account. Trust me. Next, we have Keepa Product Finder. This is a necessary software that I mentioned before. You go to keepa.com, and it will cost you $20 per month. But this is the one tool that you will need for absolutely everything and seeing whether the lead is a quality lead, and that if other sellers are selling it in well, all the information you will need is on Keepa, and we will dive into that earlier as I will show you a live example. Next is SellerAmp, the profit calculator tool, because you have to ensure that you're making a good ROI and a good profit margin on the product so you can continue to sell it and put more money in your pocket. That will also cost you $20 per month. So all the necessary tools to really get started with Amazon are only $80 per month. It's a lot in your early days because you haven't made any money with the business, but as you continue to scale and grow the business, you won't even notice these transactions and they'll be very, very low on the totem pole in your concerns. Okay, frequently asked questions that I'm sure you've thought about or wondered in the past. Number one, do I need a business license or LLC to start? No, I didn't get an LLC or a registered business until 5 to 6 months into starting my Amazon journey. And you can go even longer. It's not required. You can simply just create an individual account and just have your first and last name on there and you will be good to go. Number two, how much money do I need to start? And it totally depends what you're willing to invest. I started with $250 and it was much more difficult to grow, but it is 100% with all the softwares and information and tools out there nowadays. $250 is easier to start than when I first started my journey. But the more money you have and the more capital you have to spend it on inventory and to learn the business model quicker is much, much better. So if you have $1,000 or $2,000, that's really, really good. But if you have $250, that could also work well. Number three, is this part-time or full-time? It's whatever you want to make it be. In the early days, I did it as part-time, and later on, now I do it as full-time. But if you want to just create an extra side income, you can completely do that. Or if you want to replace your job and do this completely remote, you can also do that. Next is which product should I sell? So determining which products are quality buys is all in the softwares, and you will learn this over time as you source products. You will understand what works on the marketplace and what doesn't work well. Next, is Amazon FBA still worth it in 2025? I am very optimistic on Amazon FBA's future, and I'm very, very positive and a big believer in Amazon FBA because the softwares have never been better out there, and there's never been more sellers, which means that you can communicate and network with many, many people. And all the tools and equipment to be a successful seller on Amazon have never been more prominent here in 2025. Lastly, what if I don't have space at my house? If you don't have space at your house, you can start off the bat by using a prep center. I recommend you prepping the products yourself, handling fulfillment yourself with Amazon in the early days. But you can use a prep center and send your Amazon inventory directly to the prep center, where they will then pack it, prep it, and ship it off to the fulfillment centers, or even directly to the customer, whichever you prefer. All right, so now let's dive into some product analysis. We're going to look at both the Amazon website and describe every single tool and software that we talked about, as well as going into the source site to identify the source costs and who the supplier is. So I'm going to describe everything one by one here on the interface. So here is an Amazon listing. It is titled Tom's of Maine Fluoride Free Anti-Plaque and Whitening Natural Toothpaste Phenol, 5.5 ounces. So as you can tell here, this is the product title on Amazon. I'm sure you recognize it when you go to shop on Amazon. That is always consistent. But one thing that I highlighted in the presentation that I want to highlight here is the buy box. So as you can see here on the right, this is the buy box, and it displays the price, which is $24.49. If you look in the ships from and sold by column, you'll be able to identify the seller and the third-party seller. So now when you go on to Amazon listings to buy products, you're actually going to be able to recognize who is selling the product. Sometimes it may say ships from Amazon and sold by Amazon, but a lot of times, 60% of the time, it will say ships from Amazon and sold by another third party. It can also say ships from the third party and sold by the third party if they're fulfilling the orders, FBM, and shipping directly to the customers. But for this case, let's look into Max Sell, which he is fulfilling his products FBA. This meaning that he has his inventory at Amazon stored there, ready to be ordered and shipped out directly from Amazon's fulfillment centers. So as you can see here, this is the buy box, and Max Sell is winning the buy box. Now, if you want to go into see the other sellers who are also competing for the buy box, if you scroll down a bit and you go into other sellers on Amazon, you're able to actually open up all the other sellers, what their ratings are, and what their pricing is on Amazon. And this is how us Amazon sellers, look at each other's pricing and compete with each other to understand who has the best pricing, who's going to win the buy box, what's their offer, how much stock count they even have. And there's also a few different tools and tips and ways to do it, which I'm going to show you in a second. But if you go down this list, you're going to see 16 other third-party sellers, people just like you and I, who are selling this product, and hopefully for their sake, making a profit from, depending on which source site they get this product from. So you can see here there's Casara, there's Bungie's Treasures, there's Camacho's, and you can see here that Bungie's Treasures and Casara are both FBM. They're fulfilling by merchant, shipping out of their house directly to the Amazon customers. And as you go down, you can see Camacho's and SJ Essentials is fulfilling by Amazon. Well, you might be asking, how does Max Sell win the buy box over these other sellers? Well, the good news is the buy box constantly rotates with all of these different sellers, right? And it depends on their algorithm, how many ratings you have, how long you've been selling, how much stock count you have, or just even more casual and easy to look at is if you have inventory in New York and I'm a customer shopping on Amazon in New York, they're typically going to push your product, even if it's $1 or $2 more expensive than somebody selling in California, because they're able to offer quick shipping, and that's what Amazon is all about. So if we dive back into all of these different sellers, here you can also see some sellers selling used products or open products. In this case, there aren't any, but this is a way you can run your math and see what other sellers are offering here. But as you go down, many of the sellers are priced consistently because they're all trying to win buy box. And you go all the way to the bottom. Some sellers have their price much higher, potentially because maybe they get sales at that price, or maybe they know that the buy box will come back up to their price eventually. It's all about a game and numbers on, not driving the buy box too low, which is the price of the product, and making sure you're still getting sales. That's the name of the game. And if you can meet that efficiency, you're going to be in a really good spot. So Now that we described the buy box, obviously you know that the normal listing display for Amazon. They have all the information here on the product. This isn't really too much importance to us as Amazon sellers. What we want to do is we want to first look at the Keepa chart, which once you subscribe to Keepa, which is $20 a month, you're going to have this Keepa chart under every Amazon listing. It automatically populates as long as you have the software turned on and the extension on your Google Drive or Google Chrome. So what I do with every listing here is I go into the Keepa and I'm going to explain the Keepa very simple. I know there's a lot of numbers and colors going on, but it's very, very simple. And you can actually even change it to your liking and make it exactly how you would like it. So the top section is essentially showing the price and showing how it differs over time. Now I have the Keepa set to the 3-month view, which is the last 3 months that this, showing all the data for the past 3 months. And you can see here, if you go to all here in the bottom right where my cursor is, it goes all the way up to 4,000 days, right? Which is a long, long, long time this listing has been on Amazon, which we can see all of that history because Keepa tracks it all in their software. But for this case scenario, we're just going to be in 3 months. We're going to go to a year and go on. But you can see that the pricing is actually very consistent. It stays in the 22 to 24 range. I'm moving my cursor from right to left across this. And you're going to see as you go along this, if you look very closely in orange there, it says FBA. And then at times it'll go to FBM. So that's showing that which seller is winning the buy box. And it changes, every day I go back and every hour I go back because the buy box is constantly rotating, which is actually a really good sign for us Amazon sellers because it shows that we all have an opportunity to win sales and win the buy box. Now, if there's a really big seller, it might be difficult to win the buy box. But for this case scenario in this listing, everybody's winning the buy box and everybody's getting sales. So you can see as the price jumps and goes low and goes high, it's a really good sign because the pricing is consistent and we know that our investment is actually going to continue to make us money as we buy it month over month. At least in the last 3 months, this data proves that. So now, as we open up to the past year, the pricing is still pretty consistent. And it's actually a really good sign knowing that, we can have a consistent listing here that we can sell day over day, month over month, and not have too much of a worry about our investment. So I'm going to close this up to 3 months now again, and we're going to go into the middle column. The middle column shows the BSR. As I talked about, the best sellers rank. Every product in its own category has its different BSR and its different ranking. For this case scenario, this product is in health and household. Now it has a 50,000 rank in health and household, which you might be thinking, well, that's ridiculous. That's crazy. How does it get any sales or how does it get any traction? 50,000 is actually a really good number in Amazon selling metrics. Anything under 100,000 in BSR for the most case scenario is really, really good. In fact, Amazon added this new addition with this yellow line here, and it actually shows how many times a month this product sells. Now, take it with a grain of salt, and there's other metrics you can use by looking at what sellers, what they're selling and how many sales they have in the past month. But this metric is really helpful to also tell you that, hey, at least 200 units a month are going to be selling according to Amazon's, software and algorithm, right? And that's free. You don't even have to buy that with Keepa or SellerAmp. So this listing has a really consistent BSR in the past 3 months, which is, again, a good sign because you don't have to worry about buying it during Halloween or any seasonal time. It's going to sell really good year round. Now, as we go into the year chart, you can see that the BSR is even really more consistent and it's staying around the 50,000 range. It goes up to 60,000. And even the monthly sales stays pretty consistent, even though it dips a little bit to 100 and to 50. But for the most part, it's really, really consistent. So this is a good sign. Now, as we go into the last bottom piece of things, here's where we identify the sellers. Now, if you go back into the 3-month range, you can see that as I toggle my cursor from right to left, you're going to see how many sellers there are in the listing and how it changes over time. Here to where we are today, there are 18 different sellers. And if you go back into the 3 months ago, it was 34 different sellers. So as you can see, there's sellers and the number of sellers is going down, which is a good sign because when sellers go down, the price goes up, right? So it's also decently consistent through the middle of the month, which is a good sign. You never want to get a listing that's going skyrocketing straight up because typically the price is going to dip because demand is not as high and the inventory is way too high. So it's, typical supply and demand. Now, as we open this up to 1 year, you can see that the number of sellers 18 where we are today, and a year ago it was only at 3 to 2. Now, you don't want that to be too low because then it might indicate that it's a private listing label or a private listing for only one seller. But typically, that's not the case. So as you can see there, that the number of sellers doesn't really skyrocket and go down too often. which is a good sign for us. It's pretty consistent, and you can run your cursor across right and left. You can even go to the all-time chart, which you can see here to see how many sellers were in the past. And you can see the seller count hasn't really fluctuated that much. It stayed within its range. If we saw it going to like 70 and then 10, 70 to 10, it's not as good as a sign, but all in all, that's the seller chart. And you can kind of play around with that and get a good feel of it. You can even go down to a month, a week, or a day and get a really good feel of the chart. But 3 months is typically the best way to go about it. Now, let's go into the data of the Keep a Chart. The data here, you can see which sellers are selling this product, and you can see all of their inventory over time. This is such a successful part of this tool and aspect of this software, because now you can see, instead of just having it on a screen and Amazon selling 200 times a month, or SellerAmp is saying it's selling 200 times a month, you can actually go into the software and see how many times a such and such seller sold this product, right? So for example, you can even compare sellers to your size. If you only have one rating or one review, you can go down here, find the seller with the closest to one review or two reviews, and see how well they sell it, because that'll give you a really good determination whether you should sell the product or you shouldn't. Now, if you compare yourself to bigger sellers, it won't be as accurate because they're going to be able to win buy box more often than you are. So as you can see here, this little chart here over where it says stock history, this is going to show you how many what their stock is, and as it goes down, it shows that it's selling out. So you can even toggle your cursor over and make the chart even smaller and say to yourself, okay, this seller had 24 units in stock, and by June 13th, in 1 week, they had 22. So they sold 22 units in 1 week. This is on track for around 88 units or 100 units monthly. You can go through every single seller and see how much they're selling their stock. Some of them haven't sold much, maybe because they're not priced consistently, or because they don't have enough stock, or because they started with a lot of little stock and they sold out very, very soon. But this will give you all the data that you need to know. And on the chart on the left here, you can also see the pricing history, right? You can see that this seller was initially at $22.75, then they went up to 25, then they went down to $23.80, then they went down even more, right? So you can see the difference in pricing history over time amongst these sellers and what they changed, how they've gone up and down to stay competitive, right? So all the information is really just right there. Don't pay too much weight into the amount sold here, where it says sold and then sold 30 days, because sometimes those totals aren't so accurate, because sellers like to only allow 3 units of their items, and sometimes it tricks the software into saying that they sold out all their units, but really it's just them limiting the quantity for Amazon customers to buy. Now that we got that kind of set, let's go into the SellerAmp, right? As again, SellerAmp is the profit calculator, but they also have some neat tools that you want to pay attention to that can tell you how well the listing is doing. So immediately, SellerAmp has the BSR pop up here on the left. They have the 200 plus sales a month, and they're going to identify what the max cost that you should buy this product at, so that you can meet your ROI and criteria that you set. So in the back end, SellerAmp has a software where you can edit the tools and the details to say that you want to sell, you want to make 30% or 35% ROI in every product that you sell. Well, once you set those tools, SellerAmp, when you open it up as an extension, they'll have it saved, and you can just type in your numbers here, and they'll give you all of the information that you need to know. So as we go down here, you can put in the expected sale price, and also you can toggle this number and say, okay, well, if this listing goes down to 22 and my buy cost is $9.50, which I'll get into 1 second, don't worry. Am I still going to make money? And yes, you still make 32% ROI. Well, at the current price, what is my ROI? Your current ROI is 55%. You're making $5.19 per unit that you sell, and this listing sells 200 times a month. So considering that every single seller has the same buy cost that we do on this listing does about $1,100 in profit every single month, and it's shown to be very consistent over time. So you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar that's going to continue to do that over time, right? Now, as we go down here on SellerAmp, this is also going to be in another video about a key sourcing tactic to how to actually source your products all through SellerAmp, because they give you all the information right there for you. But you can see all of the sellers here on SellerAmp. You can see all of the ones that we talked to in the see buy options earlier in this part of the video. And you can see what pricings they're selling at, how much stock they have, how many reviews they have. You can even click on their storefront and see what other products they are selling, which will be in another video, and it'll help you source your products. But a lot of the information provided by SellerAmp is all right in front of you, right? And it's very, very simple once you learn the software. And even breaks down the fees here. As you see, total fees, it's going to tell you how much seller fees you'll be taking, how much of the FBA fee, which is storage and packing fee from Amazon, will take. And then you could have inbound shipping fees and other fees that you want to bake in to know exactly what ROI you'll be getting when you sell through all of your units and the products, right? So there's a complete rundown on using the software of SellerAmp, and Keepa. But now, last but not least, we want to jump into the buy cost, because you're saying, yeah, well, $9.50 is a great buy cost, but how do we get there? So let's jump into the source site. So the source site here is Tom's of Maine. It's actually the name of the brand, and you can buy it directly from the brand. So you're getting an authentic product, and that it probably will come in a timely manner. Now, for the most part, you don't want to buy directly from the brand, because sometimes they'll limit the amount of units you can buy. So you want to find a better distributor or supplier. But for this case, it's kind of right in front of us, and this is the opportunity we have. So we're going to buy directly from the brand. As you can see here, it's the same exact product. However, this is a pack of one, and the Amazon listing was a pack of two. Now, it says it sells for $5.99 per pack of one, but there's a coupon in here. We get 10 to 15% off. I don't remember the number, and you get it down to $9.50 per pack. So if we're able to order, 10 of these pack of twos every month from the supplier to then sell on Amazon, we could even do a little bit math all through SellerAmp. We're going to go here, say our buy cost is $9.50, and we're going to sell all 10 units at $24.49, hoping that we sell out all through in a month, which we're confident that we will based off of Keepa and SellerAmp and what other sellers are doing. We put 10 in. We're expected to make $51.90 every month and do $245 in sales just from this listing. Now, if you do it at a bigger scale and you're able to buy from a distributor, or you can allow the brand allows you to buy in bulk. Let's say you sell 100, that's actually $519 profit every month. Now, if you multiply this across 5 or 10 listings, you're going to be doing pretty well for yourself. So this is the first rundown, jumping right into product number 2. And this one is going to be pretty neat because there's an opportunity to earn more money and more income outside of Amazon just from buying this product, right? So here you can see we're going to go a bit faster through this one. This is a utility knife here, and it's selling for $26.49 on Amazon. And this price that it's selling at is from a FBM seller. And it's important to note that FBA sellers always sell at a higher price than FBM because Amazon wants to incentivize you to sell via FBA because customers receive their products faster and because it's just a better look in its whole for the company. So if you're selling this product at $26 FBM, you could probably win the FBA buy box, which means winning sales and selling your units at $30 or $31, right? And you can see this back in the Keepa chart. So here, as I am on the top of the Keepa chart where it shows the buy box shows that it sporadically jumps from $26.90, $33.99, $33.99. It continues to bounce as I run my cursor left and right. So you can see for yourself that, okay, wait, if I sell this product FBA, I can consistently win sales at a higher price than what is being portrayed on the Amazon listing. That's a little quick trick, right? So as we go down these sellers on this listing, you can see that some sellers are priced at $29.72, $31.40, $32.32, right? So there's a lot of opportunity here to win sales at a higher price than $26.49 because these FBM sellers are trying to sell the product at a lower cost because maybe they have less fees, maybe it costs less for them shipping, or maybe they just prefer selling FBM, right? For the most part, I prefer selling FBA, and I recommend you guys selling FBA. That way you can do it from anywhere in the world and you don't ever have to see the product or touch the product, right? So if we go back into our Keepa chart and we evaluate the number of sellers in the BSR is still very consistent. The number of sales every month is very consistent. And the number of sales is pretty consistent, right? It started the month at 15 and it ended the month at 15. That's as consistent as it gets. And when you open up the 1 year chart, there's not too much elevation in number of sales or sellers, and everything is pretty much consistent. The BSR is very consistent, number of sales, and the price that it's selling at is, again, very, very consistent, right? So if we're going to sell this product, let's say at $31.90, right? Because we want to stay somewhat consistent with some of the lower FBA sellers. And yes, of course, this seller is selling it at $29.72. We hope for that price to get driven back up a bit. We're going to dive into the source site and say, okay, well, if we're selling this at $31.90, what price do we have to buy it from the source site? And here's where the actual cool tip comes in of earning more money completely off of the Amazon market and your Seller Central by doing exactly this. Ready? So this is where you buy the product. This is the source site. there's many source sites for this product that you can find, and there's alternate source sites. But for this case, I found Zoro. Zoro is a supplier where I found I've done a lot of good success with, and then you can too. So you can see that the sale price for this product, and you can confirm that it is the same product by looking at the product number. Here you have 20351, and here is 20351. Even though the picture looks different on the source site, it's still going to be the same exact one because you can confirm the model number. Now, on the source site, there's cashback. Now, you might ask for yourself, what is cashback? Rakuten and Top Cashback are source site or essentially softwares that these sites work with to actually pay back the buyer on the amount that they purchased. So if it's 8% cashback and I spend $100, I'm going to get $8 back in my Rakuten or Top Cashback account to then continue to build up that account over time and just basically paid out free money, because you don't want to include it into your buy cost or your source cost, because they pay these cashbacks out every 3 months or every 4 months, however the timeline is for them. But let's say if you spend $1,000 or $2,000, that's $80 or $160. So you can build a really good consistent income flow where I've earned $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 in cashback in lifetime from sourcing from these suppliers and getting paid out basically free money on top of making the money from selling the product on Amazon. So if you can see here, the buy cost is going to be $17.12. And I get that number because the original cost is $22.50, but you get a 20% discount from Zoro. They have a lot of these discounts and sales run frequently. So you get the price down to $17.12. Now, if I got the buy cost of $17.12 and I'm selling it for $31.90, I'm going to make 23% ROI, around $4 profit per item. And this listing is selling 300 times a month. In a perfect world, you would sell it 300 times a month and win all the sales. But we're going to hope that we can also sell this product at a higher price, like $33.99, as if the other seller was doing it. And then we'll be winning sales at 34% ROI and $5.77 profit per dollar. Now, if we can sell, let's say 100 units of this product every month, and we'll say that we'll sell it in the middle of these two buy boxes, $32.50. We're going to be making about $450 in profit every month and $3,250 in sales every month. So you can tell that's a pretty good investment if you can do this consistently over time. Now, if you do the math on your cashback, you're spending $1,712 every month. If your cashback is 10%, you're making $172 a month, basically just as free money from buying from that supplier. Now, of course, there's many other suppliers out there that you can buy from and maybe buy for even a cheaper cost, but getting the cashback is a good twist, right? So reevaluating this product, all the listing prices are very consistent. The BSR is consistent, and the number of sellers is pretty much consistent over the past year, and it's very consistent for the past 3 months. So I would consider this a very good buy and a very good purchase that I would actually go ahead and make, right? So now you can do your own math and your own numbers to say, well, if I'm selling 100 a month for 6 months, maybe I'm going to be making $2,400 for 6 months just off of this one product. Now, I'm also sure that what you guys are thinking are, but Jay, what about the storage fees? Well, here on SellerAmp has a really cool feature where you can put the number of months on what you expect to pay for storage fees. Ideally, you're not just storing your product there for 6 months and having it sold out. You want to buy inventory for either 30 days or 60 days so that it sells out in the appropriate time and you're still in stock for the next month. You don't want to buy stock for 9 months or 12 months because then it's just going to be sitting at Amazon's fulfillment centers, and they don't really like that, as you can imagine. So, but if you do storage fees for 2 months, you can see here that your profit's going to go down a little bit because Amazon charges a very, very minor fee on storage fees. They don't charge a lot because they want to incentivize us in sending an inventory. And if they did charge us a lot, that'd be counterproductive for them. So they charge a very little amount. So even if I go up from 1 month to 2 months, you can see it's like a 2-cent difference in our profit per dollar, right? It goes from $4.49 to $4.47. And if you had no months of storage and you just sold out right away, it'd be $4.50. So the difference is very low. And a lot of people talk about it that you have to worry about storage fees, but in the long run, it's very, very low. But during the high months of selling on Amazon during Q4, they're a bit higher because Amazon wants to make sure that their inventory is going in and out to service all the customers buying for Christmas and all the holidays coming up. So here's the second product analysis and breakdown to give you guys a good understanding of how the seller part of things work on a listing. Okay, let's go into some product sourcing tips. So first, you want to have at least a minimum of 50 or 100 sales per month, because remember, there'll be other sellers on the listing, so you won't be able to get all of these sales, and you want to prioritize cash flow and selling through your inventory very quickly so that you can turn it into new inventory. Next is a 30 to 35% ROI. You can go a bit lower on this if the listing sells very well, but you want to bake in a little bit of a higher percentage just in case you get any returns. Next is diversifying your products. You want to test. Actually, even when you grow out your portfolio and the number of products in your listings, you want to have multiple listings in your catalog and in your Amazon Seller Central. That way, if one product doesn't do well, one will, and you continue to grow and turn an ROI on the business. Next is stealing like an artist. There's tools and tactics to use with these softwares, especially through SellerAmp and Keepa, where you can see what other sellers are doing, and you can sell the exact same product and source it from the exact same product from these sellers. So if you know that the one seller is successful selling this product, you can just steal like an artist. It's what all of us Amazon sellers do and follow the trend of other sellers. Next is mastering the Keepa chart. If you get a degree or become a professional in how to use a Keepa chart, you will find a lot of success through Amazon, because you will be able to understand the complete risk of every listing and every product, and you understand the trends and when to sell them and when not to sell them. Lastly, be safer than sorry with your suppliers. Many people who have stopped selling on Amazon is because they have found bad suppliers and who have sent them bad products. But as long as you buy from trusted suppliers and use sites like Trustpilot, you will ensure that the product will be authentic and that you have no problems with receiving it on time. Let's go over the supplies you would need for Amazon. It's not many, but let's go through them one by one. So first is FBM boxes. FBM stands for Fulfilled by Merchant. So if you ship the products out of your house, you will then need boxes to put the product in, all different sizes. You can buy these products from Uline, which is a big box supplier. They're very cheap. It could be from 30 cents or 40 cents per box. Or if you're shipping with USPS, USPS allows for free boxes. You just have to go on their website and create an account, and you can order as many boxes as you want to your house. Next is FBA boxes. You can buy these from Walmart or Home Depot. I haven't found a better solution for these yet, because these are just free delivery and free pickup. So it actually comes out to very cheap for the boxes. And they can't be more than 25 inches on the side, because that's Amazon's requirement. So just buy your boxes from Walmart or Home Depot and usually get the max size, 25 inches across, so that you can or actually go 24 inches across, just to make sure that, Amazon, nothing happens at the fulfillment center. And this is usually the best bet. Next, you don't need this in the early days of the business, but eventually you will need a 4x6 label printer, and you can buy this on Amazon. This way you can buy specifically sticky labels that you can put onto each box, and it makes the process much more easier, and I will show you a picture of the Amazon label printers in the end. Also, you will need 4x6 labels. You can get these from UPS for free. You can get however many you want and whenever you want. So therefore, you can save a lot of money by just getting these labels from UPS and putting them into your 4x6 label printer to then print out the labels. Then for FNS SKU labels, these are the minor SKU labels that you need to stick on the Amazon products when you're shipping them to Amazon, because Amazon's fulfillment center and warehouse will need to know what product this is and whose it's coming from. So you have to buy these labels from Amazon, and you can either have them for a regular printer, or you can also use them for your 4x6 label printer and just print them in smaller sizes. Also, you need to buy poly bags. For these, if you're shipping with FBA, you will need to put the product in a poly bag just so there's no tampering or damage done to the item. And you can also buy these on Amazon. And again, I can direct to you guys which poly bags to buy and which sizes depend on the product. Lastly, heavy duty tape. You can also just get regular tape, but you can buy this on Amazon. It's a pretty cheap option, and this will be used to tape up the boxes when you have to send to either the customer or to Amazon. Let's dive into delegating. So the first thing to delegate is a prep center. So having your products to be prepped by a company to be sent to Amazon. That's what a prep center is. And this way you don't have to handle fulfillment, or you don't ever have to touch the product or see the product when selling on Amazon. I've been using a prep center for 2.5 years now since I've started traveling, and it's been very successful for me, and the communication is very high. So the prep center handles everything that you can imagine and everything that you would handle as if you were shipping products to your house. Next is a sourcing team. Hiring a team member to source products is what a sourcing team member is, and it's so efficient because it allows you to spend more time on different parts of the business that are even more efficient. And that way you can have new products to buy every single day and every single week when you have a sourcing team. Lastly, let's go over tips to scale. So the first tip to scale is growing a team. As you hire team members to take on different roles, there's account management, there's sourcing, there's account success. In these ways, you can have a team to do a lot of the little tasks and sending shipments or checking on status of shipments or tracking of orders so that you can step back and not be in the business as much. Next is networking with other sellers or people in the community. This is by far the easiest one. There are many events across the US where many sellers gather and talk about Amazon FBA and their journey. And I personally have learned so much from meeting people in the industry, and I have saved a lot of money by not making the mistakes that they did. Lastly is investing in coaching to limit mistakes and to just speed up your success. This is something that I didn't do in my early days. I didn't have a coach or a course to teach me how to do Amazon FBA, and it took me a lot longer to learn and to do the business model. But in these days, there's many coaches out there and there's many courses. So if you invest in a coach or a course, and of course, if it's the proper one, and do your due diligence, then you'll be able to have a lot more success on Amazon much quicker instead of waiting. All right, there you go. That's your complete guide on how to start selling with Amazon online arbitrage. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe, as I'll have more content coming out every 2 days so you guys can start selling your first $1,000 with Amazon. See you for now.